Good morning, everybody. You're tuning into Crag Call. Today is Saturday, the 9th of March, 2024. Thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate it. Been a while since we did a video, but here we are. We're back again. Now, today we're going to be talking about energy fields and stuff like that. Now, ultimately, we find ourselves getting to the knowledge now in our lifetime, I guess you could say, that we've all got this kind of like aura field, this energy field. And this is a subject that I actually started this channel for a long time ago now. I can't remember how many years ago now. I don't even think the videos are still on there. I think I deleted them because I thought they were a bit weak. It's something that I came across, and I think I called it CCE, Connective Energy. It's something that I'd witnessed on a daily basis, and all of a sudden I was like, holy shit. And I made a video on it because I felt like I needed to talk about it, but it was a little bit kind of sporadic and off the cuff, and it didn't really make much sense because I guess I was still in the infancy stage of trying to understand it, and I guess I still am, but and most likely always will be, hopefully not. But however, since then I have been led down a path of discovery of self, discovery of other people, and an introspective and an extrospective, even if that's a word, I'm going to create it right now if it's not, extrospective view of the world around me. And you know, you see scientific studies these days talking about how we resonate an energy field which is about 3 feet or so out from our bodies. People say it comes from the heart, people say it just comes from the soul, whatever. We live in a physical body which is kind of like a cyborg robot, if you ask me. It's kind of like a built for purpose avatar body that our soul is able to inhabit and function. A bit like, you know, you're controlling a robot from a little control pad, but your soul is actually inside of that body and using the brain as the control pad, so to speak. You know, it's kind of like it's got a processing computer, a translation section, you know. We're here to experience the world around us in every way, but you see, we've forgotten the ethereal side, or at least it's been hidden from us so we can no longer experience that because we're unaware of it. But I would say, just like when I had that bit of a revelation a few years ago now, when I was driving down the street and I saw the people in front of me acting all the same around each other in their cars. If one person started driving really badly, everyone else around them just started to fucking drive really badly. And this is a very simple analogy, but it's what happened. And then I thought, fucking hell, you know, what if something positive happened? Somebody started being courteous, all of a sudden the energy changed and courteousness started to take over. And it's crazy how you see it happen right before you. And for me, that was a groundbreaking, you know, revelation for me, because all of a sudden I thought, right, well, I'm going to start paying attention to this. And these different things started to come to me, like when people say, well, the energy changed in here when that person came in. It's a throwaway concept. It's a throwaway comment. We don't understand the gravity of it. It's the truth. You can feel other people's energy and they can feel yours. And I have said this on many occasions, so I won't go over it. If you watch the other videos, you'll see. It's kind of what my whole basis is, which is why I truly believe that the revolution of self is the only revolution that needs to happen, because then ultimately it will filter out into the world around you. But just going back a few steps as we digress, this connective energy field, it's kind of proven now. I've gone on about this for many occasions now, but I want to make it more personal today. Like, I want to try and talk about how you can kind of perhaps see this in your own life, and how you can start to acknowledge that this is happening and understand the process and what that means with regards to you, the individual. Because what I mean by that is, if you come across a certain individual, right? Let's just say there's a person in your life, 1, 2, whatever. Let's just say, because we spend the predominant amount of our lives at work, let's just use work as a point of reference here. Because these are people that you're not always in contact with in a extra personal way, but you do spend a lot of time with them in a slightly more acquaintancey type of relationship, which I think is the safe ground. It's the no man's land that people use to exert their negativity a lot of the time. Most of the time in close-knit relationships, folks can chameleon themselves, or a lot of the time they will hide or lie to themselves, and therefore emit a different signal, like a fake signal. And this is something that's also proven by the words of Dr. David Hawkins. People will chameleonize their energy field to make you think that they've got something else about them, when really they let their guard down, and then the true energy starts to flow. All right, I've already discussed that. But in the homestead and in your close friends and company, this will happen more often, because people will, it's amazing what people will do in order to live a life that they think they want to live. Let's just say people want to have friends, so they will lie to themselves and alter themselves in order to keep a certain friend group. That means now that they are working really hard at emitting a certain energy field which stays within the common attractor field of that particular group. All right? So that's kind of like a chameleon energy. I mean, fucking hell, they can only do it for so long. How many times have you been out with your friends, out with your friends, or have you sat there, thought to yourself, fucking hell, I feel drained, or, how many times do you feel that you perhaps aren't really in tune with those people? But where are you going to go from those people, because you had those friends for such a long time? And then perhaps something happens, you don't see them very much, and you feel lighter for it. Well, there's your evidence, man. You were putting on a show for these people, and you were giving a piece of yourself away and when I say giving it away, you were replacing it with a different type of energy field, so that you could remain within that local attractive energy field of the group, and therefore keep your friends. But the problem with that is, it drains your energy so much that most of the time you end up being miserable. You just can't put your finger on it. You don't know why. You think, well, I've got friends, I've got a job, I've got all of this, but I'm just miserable. Why am I depressed? I'd say you got to look at yourself. You got to be true to yourself. You got to start living your own path of your own truth. And I don't mean by that you fucking start shouting out negative stuff, being racist on the internet. Well, that's my view and opinion, all that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe it is, and actually when you think about it, as I contradict myself here, if that's what's truly your path, well then amongst other racists, I'm not condoning it, but amongst other racists, you will feel happy. And maybe through that process, you will then come to realise that actually isn't the way. But you needed to go down that path in order to work through that baggage, that part of your whatever it is, karma or whatever, that's fucking repeating in your life, in order for you to get through that. Because we can only get through and learn that which we've actually experienced. So you've got to go through hardship, and you've got to go through trauma as a byproduct of working through your shit, because you can't see stuff that you're not willing to open your eyes to, you know? So you can't learn the lesson of not being a racist unless you've actually perhaps been a racist or been a victim of racism, you know? It's all about, I think it's all about personal experience. And I saw Russell Brand yesterday holding up the crucifix with Jesus on it, and he was saying the central point of the Christian religion is about suffering, and to suffer is to is to evolve. And maybe there is something to that. But again, going back a few steps as we digress, we find ourselves a lot of the time being miserable until we do something that allows us to be true to ourselves. And then we take a step into ourselves. Certain people start to fall away naturally, of course they do, because now your energy field has changed and they don't like you anymore, and that makes you feel like now you're in the wrong. And a lot of the time people will spring back. All right, they'll spring back and double down on the depression and look for something elsewhere, and they'll kind of then be even more depressed because they tried to be themselves, they failed again, you know? And now they're back in that situation where they felt like shit before, and on goes the cycle. It probably takes even longer now to get out of it. But you'll notice that people start to fall away, you start to move on in life, and you start to see less of some people and other people come into your life, and you start to feel a little bit more happy and a little bit more well-rounded. And this is the natural process. Now, that's a bit about that. Let's just say that there's somebody at work, as we were getting to, that, say for instance, every time you come into contact with that person, you feel something. You're like, oh my God, I don't like this person. They don't like me. They've always got something negative to say. Every interaction with that person is just a negative, horrible experience for you. This is how bullying takes place. All right? Because now you're giving yourself over to a scenario that allows bullying. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, if your energy field is that will not stand up for yourself against these people, by the very nature of the collective, connective energy, other people will feel that, especially people of a emotionally predatory nature, and they will react to that, and they will start acting as such. All right, a lot of people are unconscious to what they're doing. You know, call it whatever you want. The law of one, perhaps, who knows? But people are unconscious to it. I would say 95% of the world, maybe even higher, are unconscious to what is going on around them based on this very thing. And I think it's massive. I think this is the key to a lot, not all perhaps, but a lot of how we move forward. Because if we can be responsible for what it is we put out and what it is we take on, well, the energy field, the collective, connective energy field starts to echo out and starts to change everything. Like a tuning fork, most of the other people will start to polarize with whatever's out there. And if you don't know, it's like forgive them for they know not what they do, man. And that's something I rattle on about quite a lot, but I believe in that, because You look around, and if you don't know that what you're doing is feeling other people's energy, you're going to be fucking confused. Let's just say we go back to the analogy of the person at work that is kind of like emotionally and psychologically bullying you. They probably don't even know. They just victimize you because it's natural, it's what they do, it's who they are. That's what they're tuned to. And if you're a person that's not going to stand up for yourself with that person, and it starts to become a feedback loop, it happens again and again and again, you're likely to blame yourself for that and feel more depressed and more like shit. And then every time you come across that person, a little bit like an ideogram, you see them and feel all those emotions again. And then before you know it, you are now transmitting the frequency that adheres to them, that creates that relationship. It's a little bit like when you lie to yourself so you can stay in tune with the local feedback energy field of your friend group that you perhaps may or may not should be a part of. So every time you see somebody, you're tapped in to the energy that that person allows you to feel, that makes you feel. For instance, this is why when you love somebody and they love you, every time you see them, you emit those feelings of love, which is what you attract in that position, in that scenario. Which is why some people can be totally in love and other people just aren't. You know, it's a constant energy feedback loop between people, and each individual person is like an ideogram that switches on a certain frequency for you. Now, let's just say in this scenario, you say, actually, I'm not going to fucking put up with this anymore, and you bite back. Now you're going to have friction, because this other person perhaps doesn't understand, and they think that you're the bad guy. They're going to blame you like you're the bad guy because they've been used to this particular way of interacting with you. It's a very tough scenario. It's very tricky. It's probably got to be done over a period of time. You've just got to change what it is you put out there. Perhaps if you've got a pungent energy force like this in your life, if it's in a position like work, if it's in another scenario of your life, it probably doesn't matter so much. But if you're in a position like work with this person and you depend on, say, for instance, that job or that person, if they're in a position of, in a managerial sense perhaps, like in a position of power over you or something in that scenario, well then you're probably going to want to change your energy field elsewhere so that it echoes out into the other aspects of your life, so that when you come across that person, you're a stronger person because of the other stuff, and then they are less likely to react in the way that they usually do, because now they're feeling a different energy from you, which means they're less likely to act that way around you. Because remember, we're all only going to interact with each other based on the energy that we feel around each other. This is why you get fucking predators, horrible, disgusting predators like Jimmy Savile, that were able to pick out a victim. You hear this so often, that predators like that are able to just pick out a victim, and they know who can be victimized. And that's why they get away with it for so long, because it's almost like they have a sixth sense. But actually, they probably don't know what they're doing. They probably don't understand how they're able to continuously get away with these things. They just do. And that bolsters their ego, and they carry on, and they just get more and more bold, which then emboldens them and empowers them even more. And what they're doing is, whether they know it or not, is they're using this force, this energy field around them and around other people in order to manipulate and control their own existence. Now that shit's fucking deep. And once you realise that that's what's possible with all of this, you realise the gravity, and then it starts to make sense as to why this is probably potentially being hidden from us, this information. Because let's just say that everybody is aware of this. I mean, what would happen? Well, there'd certainly be a shift in the power structure. That much is true. Whether it'd be a good thing for society or not, I don't know. But one thing is for sure, the people in control quite possibly know this, and that's how they remain in control most likely, which is why they do what they do, which is why they're so hell-bent on trying to control the energy that people put out by making them resonate with negativity. I mean, you look at this. Why the fuck would you go to the cinema and watch a slasher movie where people are being cut up with chainsaws and all that kind of stuff? Why would you do that unless you're polarized with negativity? Why? I would have to ask why anybody would want to watch that. It's fucking murder. Now, people die, people get murdered, and I'm not saying that that shouldn't be in films, because art should reflect life, of course. However, there are some things that are a little grotesque and that are literally made for that shock value, to be gruesome, to be horrible. And I don't know why anybody would want to see that unless they're negatively polarized. And this is the thing. Once you're attracted to that, you're kind of like going to feed into that, and it will then bolster out that negativity within you, and then you're now putting out that resonant frequency. And I do believe that half the time the media source, I say the media source collectively because it's all kind of owned and connected by the same people anyway, but that is controlled, and it's definitely manipulated to charge people one way or the other through their energy. I would say this much is an absolute certainty at this point. You've got to think, you've got to accept that. Why is there such a hell-bent attack on people through what they see, what they watch on television, right? You know, there's got to be something to that. That's why they give you a free view box over here in the UK. Because why should you have to pay for something? Because a lot of the time, money is not as valuable as what you think. Control, power, influence, information. The end game is the most valuable thing to these people. They can print whatever money they want. They don't give a fuck about money. It's nothing to them. They're in control because we give it the power. Because we acknowledge the power of money that they have told us that it has. And that's why they just print it for us. Okay, you can go ahead and have that. You can work for that fictitious thing. It's fine. Because all it does is push their agenda ever forward. You know, this is life. Get used to it. It's a dark place. But your energy field is extremely important, because what you do with that and how you acknowledge that and how it interacts with other people's energy is incredibly important, because that's where this starts. And I do believe that in a lot of the cases, you know, with people that talk about this type of stuff, it's all about manifesting money, attracting abundance of physical stuff. Like, I don't know, man. I agree. My opinion is I agree with people needing money. That we live in a capitalist, consumerist society, right? So we need money to survive in order to give us freedom, or the freedom to make choices. That's what it is. Now, that much is obviously true, so we need it. But it shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't start and finish at manifesting a winning lottery ticket, as much as that would be nice. But that would be nice for everybody. For everybody to live a life where they don't have to think about where the next fucking paycheck's going to get paid from. But you see, when you're thinking about it in a personal way, that's how you will view it. Manifesting a lottery ticket for you. But if we all start manifesting positivity collectively now, well, now there's abundance for everybody and no one needs to win the lottery because there's no such fucking thing. You know? Like, if we accept the power and the gravity of what this is, this energy field, this interaction with one another, this collective, connective energy field that we all are a part of, and we change our own personal polarity or polarization, whatever you want to say, to one that is more of a positive and uplifting one, well then ultimately the world around us will literally change. It will. You know, first and foremost, we have to accept that this is going on, and then we have to do something about it. Understand the responsibility it takes. And it's difficult. It might take years. It's not going to be something that you realise and then all of a sudden you start acting different. It's not going to be like that. You're going to come across instances on a daily basis that challenge you. And for the most part, you'll act the same way you always would have acted. But because you're thinking about it, what will happen is you will probably go away and digest that experience and then think about it differently, so the next time around you'll have the opportunity to perhaps deal with it slightly differently. I think so long as you're conscious, how you deal with these scenarios starts to become less relevant, because eventually the change will happen based upon the attention you're willing to give it. You know, because you've only got to go through these scenarios. You've got to fail so you can learn how not to. You've got to go through these scenarios to actually learn from them. That much is true. So when you decide, okay, I'm part of a collective energy field, I'm transmitting energy and I'm receiving energy all the time. It's up to me what I fucking take on, and it's up to me what I put out. You know, you don't have to be a fucking savior. You don't have to say that I'm going to take on everybody's energy, because that's just negative. That's not right. No one should do that. But you can repel some energies for the sake of yourself, therefore everyone else, right? If you choose to accept this in yourself, well then ultimately what will happen is, when you come across a negative situation, you will most likely, especially to begin with, react in a certain way like you always would have done, perhaps in a knee-jerk reactionary way to what negativity they're putting out, because now all of a sudden they've passed you that negativity and you're now acting upon it unconsciously. Which is why a lot of the time you'll be driving down the street, for instance, and someone will do something wrong or do something bad, dangerous perhaps, and you'll say, what the fuck? And they'll give you the middle finger, and then you'll start going off at them, when really it's like, what the fuck, man? If they give you the finger, it's like, well, fuck off, man, like whatever. Doesn't matter, like they're in the wrong, they were the one being dangerous. Why are you then gonna lower yourself to reacting in the same way that they reacted? Well, that's because they've passed on that negativity to you, and now you're reacting in an unconscious way. Because negativity is potent, it's quick, it will fucking shoot you in the heart. Now, as we find ourselves going through these experiences, we will most likely then go away later with this preloaded knowledge of this is what's happening, and think, oh shit, that's what happened there. I can see it for what it was now. And then the next time You might react differently, you might not. But the more times you go through these with that preconceived knowledge of what is actually happening, the more it will start to be thought about, the more you'll see it, and then the more opportunity it's got to make an impact and an effect in your life. And again, it may take 10, 20 years for things to start to actually making a change in your own life. So don't expect the world to change because now you've made a change, because that's not going to happen. But things will change. You'll be different, and you'll probably start to have a little bit more of an open-minded or easier view on the world around you. And so long as your world changes, right, you can guarantee that other people's worlds are changing as a direct result of that. And if this works for you, then tell other people about it, and hopefully it'll work for them too. And later on down the line, maybe in 100, 200 years, we'll all be living in a different place, you know, and everyone will be happy. But until then, the revolution of self is the only one that counts, and let's just keep striving towards it. And this is Crag Core. I'm going to sign off right now. This is love and peace to all things everywhere. Thank you for being with me today. Peace.